Howdy soldiers, it's the General here again, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about something interesting. With the release of Serious Sam 4 on the horizon, I wanted to kind of address the state of indie games and how they fit into accessibility and just the overall gaming atmosphere in general. Indie games are great because they do a lot of things that AAA games aren't willing to do, because big companies aren't willing to bank on new ideas anymore like they used to be. And this is becoming the norm. Big name companies are only interested in what will make them the next big buck, so they recycle the same ideas over and over, and this creates an atmosphere of releases every 2 years. You see this happening with franchises like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, others of that nature. The Madden franchise, any EA game for that matter. And it's a very sad thing to see, because developers used to care about their games. It used to be when somebody wanted to have a creative endeavor and they believed in it, they would find the right publisher and the right distributor, and they would make something great, something amazing, something that would buck the trend in the industry. And it usually took a couple of years before whatever that game did before it became the norm. And I bring this up because I see that that's what's happening with indie games. Indie games are becoming the last bastion of true creativity in the gaming industry. And I wanted to talk about this because indie games are becoming more ambitious, and a game like Serious Sam is a great example of this. I mean, this company seriously, no pun intended, cares about what they're doing. If you look at the evolution of the Serious Sam franchise, that game started as a tech demo, and it exploded in popularity because it was cheap at the time. I remember as a teenager, being 14, 15 years old, going into Walmart and buying the Serious Sam CD-ROM for $20 and thinking it was the greatest thing ever, because before then I hadn't bought a game that was less than $50. And not only was it cheap, but the gameplay was actually good. That brings me to my next point. Indie games are becoming ambitious. You look at this game, and if you didn't already know that it was an indie game, by looking at it, you'd think it was a full AAA release. My point is that more and more people are starting to play indie games, because indie games are, the last measure, the last bastion of true creativity, as I said before. And I think we're finally starting to reach the point where indie games are honestly gaining more popularity than AAA games. Why? Because when you have a AAA game, it's becoming a rarity that the game isn't filled with either gotchas where it's a virtual casino or some form of microtransaction where you have to spend X amount of money to buy a part of the game that when you do data mining and look at the files, you realize that this should have already been part of the game and it's locked behind a paywall. Now, I tend to play more indie games these days because since studios actually care about the work that goes into it when they make an indie game, it tends to be more accessible. The people that make it tend to be more empathetic towards disabilities. I have a personal story that kind of fits with this, and mine involves Children of Morta by 11-Bit Studios. It's a roguelike action RPG, and what roguelike means is that everything is procedurally generated. However, the hardest part about the game was that when you die in Children of Morta, if you have not already beaten the dungeon, when you lose, you start at the beginning of the dungeon when you regenerate, and all of the enemies are replaced, and some of them become more powerful, and sometimes there's less health drops. I reached out to the developer, 11-Bit Studios, thinking that I'm just going to do this as a formality. I didn't think that they would actually answer. Not only did they answer, but I was told that they couldn't add an easy mode to the game because it would require rebalancing the entire game. Now I understand that, but this isn't where it ended. 11-Bit Studios was nice enough to offer me a save file with every character at max levels to decrease my chances of not being able to progress, because I really enjoyed the story of Children of Morta and I really wanted to get through it. The fact that this developer was willing to do that for me speaks volumes about how much they care about the game and about the fans who play it. When was the last time, and really think about this, when was the last time that fan outcry made a significant change to a AAA game? I can't think of one. Matter of fact, the last time that I can think of was in Assassin's Creed Unity, and they didn't even react right away. It took them forever. So, I think the point of what I'm trying to say is that gamers are starting to flock to the indie devs because they are realizing that the indie devs are the ones that care about them. Indie devs are the only ones left who care about the consumer. Now, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong for what I'm about to say, but if I'm not mistaken, the developers of The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red, started out as indie developers. They had a limited budget. They made The Witcher, And I never played the first one. But the point of what I'm trying to say is that they're an indie developer and they made their own engine to create the Witcher franchise. And I have never seen a more polished game, especially in terms of RPG. I know the first two were not open world, but my point is that for an indie developer, the production value in this game was like a AAA game. I don't know if nowadays CD Projekt Red is still considered an indie developer because Cyberpunk looks incredibly ambitious. It's the most ambitious game they've ever made. But their business practices don't mirror that of a AAA studio. And they are great. They're one of my favorites. And the AAA games industry is losing a lot of money because people don't want to play the same thing over and over again. A new game comes out and the sheer amount of games that are the same is incredible. So this is why I support indie developers. I'm going to be playing Serious Sam 4 when it comes out because I am a massive Serious Sam fan and I love first-person shooters. So keep an eye out for the Serious Sam playthrough on my channel. Leave a like to help the channel out. Support your indie developers because they are some of the last few people that still care about us gamers. And I'll see you guys on the next one. We'll converse in the comments. This is the General signing off and platoon dismissed.